Hey everybody, morning David, morning Alan, morning Goose, morning Michael, morning Al, Workman Smith. Good to see everybody. Whew, boy, I tell you, market just keeps on going for maximum frustration, right? I mean, just chopping in that range, right back up near the top of the range yesterday. In Q, like I said, keeps reaching for that resistance from August 2022. We'll talk about it along with all the other things today. I brought a nice big list. I'm sorry I started late. I was actually digging up more stuff to talk about. Like it's the things moving and the cracking at the seams. Let's talk about it. Let's look at it. So all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. I mean, don't get into this if you don't have money that you can afford to lose. If you're trying to pay your rent, you're trying to feed your kids, trying to feed yourself, be careful. All right. If it's gonna make you starve, if you lose that money, don't trade. Seriously. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. I mean, things that have worked in the past may not work in the future. I may be full of crap. I tend to get things right, but that could change tomorrow. Change today. This presentation here, intended to be informational, educational, and fun, and is not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instruments. Remember, if you need personal financial advice and you desire it, you need to hire and consult a financial advisor that has a fiduciary duty to give you good advice, or at least advice based on your financial situation. So, this is kind of the driver for the week, even though we've got all sorts of financial news just kind of kicking around. You know, after the close last night, we got Cisco, D-Local, SQM, Synopsys, Boot Barn. Ouch. We'll talk about that one. Walmart, coming in super strong. You know what? The economy shifts to when things are tough, people start shopping at Walmart. Walmart excels in times of a tough economy. It just happens to be what happens. Canada Goose, got some vodka, and Bath and Body Works, gambling.com. Just interesting stuff. We do have before the market tomorrow, John Deere, Ross the Boss, or whatever it is, Ross Dress for Less, whatever. Boot Barn, ouch, yeah, it got slammed. But we'll look at it. I had a target right down there, and we'll actually go jump in and look at it. So let me pull up one other chart here before we get rocking and rolling. Let me see if I can find my chart. It disappeared. Oh. What the heck? Discord was on a whole different thing. Let's see. Let me pull up. Yeah, Beth. Discord. Boot Barn. I'm sitting here looking at Discord and thinking Boot Barn. Whew, Boot Barn. All right, throw this over here. Let's pull this over. So check it out. NASDAQ. I've been talking about this target up here. The target 13,700 was the bottom of the target. We kind of set this up, 3 weeks back? I don't even remember. Right now, it's looking like we're probably going to go through this 3-4 as we reach these extensions. Now, we could turn down from here. This could be it. This could be finito after this zone, and we could just pull back. Or we could keep inching through, kind of poke up to a new higher high before we get the bigger higher high just from August 2022. Let's frame this in perspective. I'm not talking higher high, all-time high. I'm talking about higher high than we had in August 22. We may poke up there and then get the bigger retrace. So kind of some rough targets, maybe down to 13.5. We could see that today before we pop up and get that 13.7 area. Then we could be right back down here in 13.5, 13.6 again before we poke on up to like 13.9 maybe, 13.8, 13.9. And then we could get the bigger pullback. And maybe one more bounce in there, but I'm not completely sure that I've got all these in exactly the right place. So far, this looks like a fairly good 1, 2, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a 4, 5, and a 4, 5, and a 4, 5, and a 4, 5. But my little numbers could be off just a shade. But I think we're in for some chop on NASDAQ. We may get some rotation out of big tech as we chop here, or some rotation from one big tech to another big tech for some of the ones that haven't been performing. Like, this is the August high. I mean, this 13,700 area. Well, let's jump back over to a live chart here and talk about it in a minute. What the heck? What the heck? Look at all these alerts. All right, QQQ. And we're coming up right on that. Let's jump to the future so we can actually see the little permutations, whatever. We're coming up on that August high, getting that rope, that pullback, maybe back to the roadmap line. It just happens to be 13.6, so we could see that. And we get up to that high up there around 13.7, right there, 13. So we could poke through that, inching through. Now that's, look at the big picture of NASDAQ. That is the August high. So however big tech has readjusted, but then you have stuff like Amazon right here. That's the August high up there, 145. We're farting around down here at 116. Like, it's a huge opportunity to catch back up. I need to refresh this list. 1 second. Pause. Let's go back to what I was talking about. So we're 116 here. Zoom out so we can see the August high. If we grab the tool, this kind of thing, just back to the August high, it's like a 26% move. All right, this is why I'm so excited about Amazon. The opportunity here, if this just catches up to the rest of big tech, that's a 26% move. Right there. Beautiful. You know what kind of crazy performance you can get on options with something like that? I mean, it could be a big winner. Could be. Now, I'm not saying it's going to do that, but it has the opportunity to catch up to a lot of tech. So that's why I've been beating the drum on Amazon, is because it's been lagging, and typically Amazon doesn't lag big tech. Now we look at some of the other big tech, like Apple right here is just right there. Like, this is classic NASDAQ right there. I mean, this following almost the pattern. It almost touched the high from August, and we're just consolidating right below it. Then we have Microsoft that is way above it. And it's finding resistance at this March high. Potentially going to push through, and then it can run back to its all-time high up here around 350. So the opportunity, I feel like, is less on Microsoft right now, less on Apple right now, greater, this is like opportunity cost. That's what I'm talking about here. So where do you want to put your risk? I like to put it in smart plays, things that historically have worked right now, maybe out of favoritism, and potentially can outperform as they come back into their typical performance. Now, you may say, well, Amazon's fundamentally changed, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they have. I mean, I think it's the same game. We don't have Bezos at the helm, but who's to say Bezos doesn't just jump back in? So, just kind of keep that stuff in mind. That's how I find these big, crazy plays. It's like Tesla right here. We look at where we were in August. We were up here, August, September. We kind of triple topped right there and dropped out. And it's way underperforming right here. Now, is there opportunity for Tesla to catch up? I don't know. It may be transitioning from big tech to more of a traditional car. But that one still represents like an 80% gain right there if it were just to go retest the highs from August. So Tesla is actually underperforming the stock market. Even S&P 500, when we look at that, we're in the neighborhood. We've got about, what is that? What's left on here? We've got about 3%, almost 4% to go to retest that high. Now, S&P 500 has been lagging, so it's something to keep in mind. And like I was talking about at the at the start there, we came up, we kind of hit our head on the top, and like I was saying yesterday, sideways is what I am expecting. So as I speculate we may rally back to the top of the range. We rallied back to the top of the range, and we found resistance at this point, and we'll probably drop back to the bottom of the range. This is what I expect until we break out of the range with a solid confirmation. We're just going to keep chopping in the range. So if you've been long looking for the breakout, maybe lighten up and prepare for a retrace and rebuy some stuff. Just be smart on this. Try to keep the mindset. Don't get your credit spreads too close. We can just go blasting out anytime. All right. If you're selling credit spreads up here and buying credit spreads down here, make sure you give yourself room. All right, room to be wrong. Room for the range to expand. All right. That's my fair warning. Now, NQ sure does look like it's gonna pop right up there and tag that. We could get a little pullback, and like I said, in that first little chart I had, we're probably gonna do some chopping as we get up into this resistance here. We could chop right up on above it. I think we're going to see a strong reaction and come back down. So where do you find that measure tool? Check it out right here. Oh, wrong one. Right here. Date and price range right here. Handy dandy little tool. It's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th button down on the standard toolbar, and about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6th one down. I've been playing with that lately, looking for some percent moves on certain things. So handy dandy little tool. I like it. Added it to my toolbar even. So you can see right here, NASDAQ probably expecting about a 1% more, on the upper end here, about a 1% compared to the S&P 500. Now, what we do have is Russell continuing to underperform severely. It didn't even make it back to the top of its range. And this kind of scares me that we could see a bigger down in small caps. This thing severely lagging the performance of NASDAQ and the S&P 500. As we zoom out and look at where the August high is, we're talking about up here. And small caps, I mean, that's a 14%. Yeah, 14% move. So small caps definitely underperforming right now compared to NQ, about 1% off of its August high, and S&P about 3 to 4% off of its August high. Russell, the small caps, 14% off of that August high. That is not a bullish setup right now. Although it could hold right here and do the measured bounce thing, the indication would be a breakout above the roadmap line, basically at 1830. If we get a breakout over here, set your alerts right at 1830. We get a breakout over that right now without going lower than we've gone so far. That's like super bullish move. And we could see Russell outperform to the upside. Let's see if I got this even. Yeah, I've got it. The target would be right up in this zone right up here. Right up in there. If we're to break above 1830, somewhere around that 2180. That could be a huge move on something like IWM. We're talking like from 180 to 210. I mean, that's an opportunity to make some nice money. All right, moving on. Oil continuing to chop around right here. We had a bit Cushing, the stocks, they call it Cushing stocks. That's the storage tanks in Cushing, Oklahoma, are hitting record full, similar to what we had situation-wise back in COVID, although we don't have COVID going on right now. Oil could plummet. Be careful. Oil is not looking super bullish right now. We're having record builds in Cushing. That can lead to a big down in oil. We saw this big spike down here, 2 weeks back? we could get another run down. Lower low, 59. Just caution on oil. Caution on being long any kind of, oil driller, performer, seller, refiner. Just caution. All right, please, please, please. Gold looks like it's finally doing the thing that I've been looking for it to do. Why does this keep moving over? Stay over here. Save it. Stay on there. So, looking for gold to continue its march down there. CTAs were super long. They're probably getting liquidated now. And probably going to find support back down here around 1900 on gold. Bitcoin, just messing around, consolidating in this range. Not really strong, compelling anything. Now, this is the number 3 asset that stands to benefit if the dollar goes through any kind of default situation. If we don't get this debt ceiling thing figured out, investors voted, umpteen thousand of us, and we see Bitcoin as likely to benefit as the number 3 beneficiary of a dollar default. So keep that in mind. If you don't have any exposure to Bitcoin, maybe consider picking up some affordable options on Beto, because that's a roadmap line type setup. DXY, looks like we're going to do that roadmap line test. We'll see what happens here when we get there. So near term target probably coming up to there. Looks like that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Well, we do have the bigger story in Bitcoin, the halving event coming up, and I think that's going to continue to be the story for the next year plus in Bitcoin. So every halving event so far has been bullish on Bitcoin, yet we haven't really taken Bitcoin. Bitcoin hasn't existed during a high interest rate, inflationary, financial crisis type environment. So does it stand to benefit, or is it going to be a risk on asset and liquidate and get out of it? That's the question. Money can be made getting it right. So I'm playing it for the historical pattern during the halving, a reduction of supply, supply and demand pushes prices higher. The pattern indicates that we're probably going to see $100,000 prices in Bitcoin through the next halving event. So I'm positioned to take advantage of that through 2025. Take 2, nice pop. Looks like the market probably opening up. Yep, opened up. Probably going to retrace. That's a outsized pop. We haven't really had any retraces. It's just chugging higher, and then pop. Probably going to come right back. NOW on the way to the target. Find a little resistance at that 500. 520 is the next target up there, plus or minus a couple bucks. ASML looks like it's going to pop up and finally hit the target right around that 730, 720, 725, 730 area. 720. Yeah. It's set to break out. It goes above that prior high. Probably going to just reach up there and tag it. It's been a long-term target for that one. Netflix looking strong, potentially breaking out. 404 resistance, 436, but ultimately, I think we're on a path to go test 500. That's long-term, maybe out to the late this year, early next year, if you're going to position for that $500 price target. Probably see some churns and pops and drops in between. Bath & Body Works, nice pop right up near the roadmap line. That's a big down. We got lots of resistance. Got to get above some of the stuff before it's a positive outlook here. Still well below the roadmap line, well below resistance that we built up right up here. Just happens to be the 618. That can be the turn, but I need that to prove it to me. Aggressively you go long over the roadmap line. Oh, look at that, Home Depot. Continuing the march higher. Beautiful. I put $14 price target on my options, and that may close me out here in a few minutes. If you're not familiar with what options I'm talking about, I mentioned that divergence back there on that earnings drop. I got long some options out to June, and what I pay $6 for them, something like that, $6.95 I think. I put a $14 price target, a little better than double my money in probably 2 days if I get out today. Not too shabby. That's that kind of setup is something we're working on. We'll probably stay tuned. We'll probably give people an opportunity to get in early on that next month. Something I've been working on. There's Netflix entry, triggering right there. These things are getting spicy. All right, ALB. Probably gonna come up here, tag the roadmap line, and we'll see if it turns down and goes to the target. SCPL, crazy pop, side play. Nothing about that looks bullish to me. That's a bunch of, like, all those red candles. Pop, still red candle, probably gonna retrace back down. Just added volatility compared to the drift it had going. Sony, nice pop. Popping above, target right here, 107. Hope you're still in it, Beth. Get it. FedEx, if it can break out up here, probably headed up to the top of this orange box. Looking pretty bullish. I mean, did find resistance at the 618, retraced back down to the 100%. Next target up would be like 250. You know, top of that orange box to 250, somewhere right up in there. Are you feeling strong, my friend? That's what it looks like. Probably right up in there. Snow, potentially breaking out, but we do have a ton of resistance built up above us. I would be careful. That's an aggressive type position to trade up for about 205. CSIQ, just chopping. Canadian Solar, that just looks sideways and choppy. Walmart, beautiful numbers, probably going to break out and head to that 160, 159, 160 area, possibly 165. Beautiful. That was a beautiful roadmap line bounce, setup, announcing banging earnings, beating on the top, beating on the bottom. 7% growth, biggest growth they've had in a while. CDW got slammed. Look at this, made a big spike down and right back up. So, yikes. Not sure why, but it showed up on my monitor. So, TMV, just chugging on the roadmap line, not indicating we're going up or down, just sideways. DLO, looks pretty gnarly for going lower. Goose, popping up and retracing. That's a big sideways. Look, I mean, if you see this as a bullish opportunity, just zoom out a little bit. I mean, for gosh sakes, man, that just looks sideways. I don't see any opportunity there for me. I like stuff moving. Rambus, that's probably getting to targets. Be careful. 618's right there at 56, 67. That can retrace back down to 51 where it broke out from before it can get the extension to 61. So just be careful. Same pattern all the time. You wonder why these things pull back at where they do. Probably going to do that number. If it's going to continue on this. Otherwise, if it breaks down below this right here, it can come back to here. Hadn't been down there in a while. NWER, probably getting resistance at the 1272, may sit there for a day or two and then pop up to 88. And same situation. We'll probably see this retrace, potentially moving up or breaking back down. Baba, retracing, just consolidating under the roadmap line. That's not bullish. Boot Barn, right down to the target. Look at that. I drew that giant target. Right in there. That can be bullish right there. That's a measured bounce off of this first big move up. First indication is getting back above the roadmap line. That would be a long above the roadmap line. And what kind of target can we expect if that's what we got? Let's clear a few things off. And clean this chart up a little bit. This could be a big opportunity here. Could be. I kind of like this potential setup. Let's just clear a bunch of junk off here. Delete. All right. Double check it. Run the fib. Yep, perfect. Measured bounce type setup. This sets a new potential target right up here on a break above there. Probably going to take out to end of the year, possibly into next year. It's going to take a while. This retrace took a while. Now, it's not an entry till we get above this crap right here. Above the roadmap line, above 75. That would be the entry. It can still break down, go lower to here. If it broke down from there, go lower for an extension right down here. I want to wait till it proves it. All right. So there's opportunity there. Probably not going to get that rally up to 75 today, but if it did, looks pretty good. NGG. You could go in with like a long term, maybe zoom out to 2025, late 2024, and put an option position like a synthetic stock, and just let it ride and see what happens. We break below down here, you could close it out. We start breaking up. Maybe add if you wanted to add exposure on something positive. So that's different ways to play that. NGG probably coming back to the roadmap line right there. Cisco could hold here. That could be. God, that's gnarly. It's a gnarly pattern right there. Could hold in this area. Could go a little bit lower. All right, our support zone right down in here, all the way down to here, really. We're holding on the top of this. That's positive. See this right here. First indication we were going on up would be a break above the roadmap line right there, about 49, 48, 49. Otherwise, we could go deeper. Baidu getting slammed off the roadmap line a little bit. Caution. Just sideways chop is what I would expect. You know, we've got the support down here. We've got resistance up here. Just chopping in that zone is what I expect on Baidu. SQM looks like it's going to go lower. That just does not look bullish. That's drifting off. That's like accelerating down too. We can find a low maybe at these prior lows over here. Not super bullish. All right, bias for the day, probably a retrace. Cautious, more sideways is what I expect. All right, NASDAQ may push up and tag that high that I've been talking about, that 13,700. We may get a reaction off of that. Be careful. Those are my bias for the day. If you want to keep talking about this, make sure you are in Discord, and the link's in the description. If you want to come back and join me tomorrow when I go live again, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell with the notifications, get notified when I go live, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming.